Hello and welcome to the WhiteSky Studio core functions video. This demonstrates some of the core functions that are built into the very platform of the product, which all work and function just out of the box. So whatever you design or whatever system you have, this functionality is always there and present. So the functionality we're talking about that occurs out of the box are things such as workflow, relationships, document management, auditing, and the permissioning system. Permissioning and workflow and querying is covered in some of the other video topics. What we'll be concentrating in the next 5 minutes is going through relationship management, documents, and auditing. We'll be doing that as usual with our Apollo mission training data. So if we start by having a look at all of our missions, you'll see here's a list of all of our Apollo missions, and if we open up Apollo 11, we can see we're just storing some of the basic information about it, launch vehicle, some commentary, and so on. And what we're interested in is if we have a look at the audit history, we can see here's the audit, the changes that have happened in the last week against the Apollo mission. And if we change that to last year, we'll get a list of all of the changes that have happened. Now, some of the core differentiators between our auditing is that most systems provide, if they do provide auditing at all, they provide it optionally. You have to turn it on. By default, auditing is always off throughout the system, and you have to turn it on for various different areas. It also doesn't cover everything in the system. And then when it comes to actually reporting across that data, typically you can't query or report on it. You're just given a very large 100 meg text file or something that you've got to sift through. For us, it's a complete difference. The first part is that you can't turn auditing off. It's on all the time. Absolutely everything is audited, no matter what a user does. It tracks who did it, when they did it, what they did, old values, new values, etc. On top of that, it can't be bypassed by the user at all. So a typical example is when you're importing data into a system, typically vendors just squirt that into the database, and you're lucky if there's any validation at all. On our system, we check that you have the authority to do what you're trying to do. We run through all of our internal consistency rules and validation, as well as all the validation rules that you yourselves have set up. We ensure that it passes all of those validations. Then we audit the entire object, and then we insert it into the database. So that way you have an audit trail of everything that ever goes into the system, whether it's been entered manually or imported. So you can see here on this set of auditing data, we can see who made the change, when they did it, what time they did it, what type of change it was, what object it applied against, the property of the value that changed, the old values, the new values. All of that's tracked and logged within the system. And this is just a quick access screen to getting it. The key thing is that you can actually use the reporting tools, which are covered in later videos, to actually analyze, slice and dice this data and make it a part of your system. So you could have another tab here that shows you any recent changes or any key fields that you care about, because it's part of the system that can be queried and integrated into your actual product. So you can see here, it's not just a large text file that's unsearchable or anything. It's actually part of the system that we can just drag and group the data, and we can sort it, and we can filter it, and we can group it however we like. So at all points, it's data that we can actually query. If we then have a look at relationships as an example, we can see against Apollo 11, what the system will do is it will automatically track all relationships in the system, regardless of how they've been set up. So it can say, well, the crew against Apollo 11, here are the 3 crew members. And a good example of this is if we actually take an Apollo mission that had multiple people in it. So if we have a look at Apollo 10, we can just jump to Apollo 10 from this graph. If we look at the relationships, we can see Eugene Cernan, the missions he went on. He worked on Apollo 10. We can open up Apollo 10, see the crew members. We can see John Young was a member of the Apollo 10 mission. We can open up John Young, see what missions he was on, which is Apollo 10 and Apollo 16. And so you can see recursively we can go through all of the relationships in the system. Everything's only one click away. Now again, this isn't just missions or Apollo missions or astronauts. It can be anything that you've set up, such as the deals you're working on, which contacts introduce you to them, what other deals of those contacts introduce you to, who are the advisors on the deal, etc. And that way every relationship between any object you're on is always one click away. In addition, if we have a look, go back to Apollo 11, we can have a look at the documents. So within the system, you've got full document management, so we can see the various different kind of structures, folder structures we have here. We can open up planned astronaut profiles, go into training, and here are miscellaneous notes on the various astronauts. But the key thing is that it will take care of the versioning of all of the documents, so you can go back to any document you've got and see the previous versions and additions and changes that have been made. So all of these core functions, auditing, relationship management, and document management within the system are just part of the core. Whatever system you have, be it a CRM or a workflow system, sit on top of those core functions. These just happen for you out of the box. Thank you.